All right, guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving into some exciting news. Justin Fields is set to start in Week 2 against the Denver Broncos. Even though we won't see a Russell Wilson revenge game, I'm actually glad about that. I think the Steelers are a stronger team with Fields on the field. No pun intended. Here's the scoop. Fields went 17 for 23, throwing for 156 yards and running for an additional 57 yards. His legs have definitely opened up the run game. Opponents can't just focus on Najee Harris anymore because Fields can make plays with his feet too. Najee ran 20 times for 70 yards, while George Pickens had 6 catches for 85 yards. One area where Fields needs to improve is the quick passing game. It's never really been his strong suit, and it needs to be better going forward. With playmakers like Pat Freiermuth and Pickens, Fields should aim to utilize those weapons more effectively. The quick passes will help make the offense more dynamic. Looking ahead, the Atlanta Falcons have a solid defense, but the Broncos don't seem to be as strong on that front, so Fields will have a better chance to shine in Week 2. The Steelers' strategy has always been about running the ball and playing solid defense. They scored 18 points but only allowed 10, which is a classic Steelers performance. In the past, the Steelers might not have even gotten those field goal opportunities with quarterbacks like Kenny Pickett and Mitch Trubisky. Mason Rudolph stepped up, but Fields clearly has the team rallying behind him. Going into Atlanta, a team that many thought could win the NFC South or even go to the Super Bowl, the Steelers managed to silence them. Kirk Cousins looked like he was struggling with an injury, and Atlanta's running game was inefficient. TJ Watt was unstoppable, putting heavy pressure on Cousins, who ended up throwing 2 interceptions and getting sacked twice. Fields' stat line might not look flashy, 156 passing yards and 57 rushing yards, but he controlled the game well and put his team in scoring positions. Sure, there were a couple of missed opportunities, like a failed sneak and a 50-yard play by Pickens that got called back due to a penalty. But overall, I like how the Steelers are running bootlegs and getting Fields on the move. It's clear they're not going to drop back and pass 30 or 35 times a game. That's not Fields' style. Instead, they're using the run game to set up Fields for comfortable throws. Mike Tomlin seems to have a lot of faith in Justin Fields, and honestly, I've been saying all summer that if the Steelers had known Fields would be this affordable, they might have skipped on Russell Wilson. Wilson's style doesn't seem to fit well, and 2 teams have already moved on from him. Fields is a taller, more versatile quarterback who's only going to get better. This is just the start for Fields. Even if he faces some bumps along the way, his performance in the first game, 17 for 23 with good efficiency, shows promise. He was accurate, quick with his throws, and hard to sack, only going down twice. Keep an eye on him, because there's definitely more to come. All right, let's keep it rolling. Justin Fields is a powerhouse when it comes to moving around the pocket, and that's a huge asset for the Steelers. When you're in a third down situation, you have to account for all the weapons on the field, including Fields himself. He's a dual threat, so defenses can't just focus on stopping the run or the pass. In contrast, Russell Wilson isn't the same player he used to be. Sure, he was a top 5 quarterback in terms of rushing in his prime, but he's now 35 years old and doesn't have that same mobility. The Steelers' game plan revolves around their strong running game and defense. They ran the ball 41 times for 137 yards in their last game, which is their winning formula. They focus on controlling the clock and using their defense to get stops. The Steelers trust their offense to make plays when needed, with Fields as a key playmaker. With George Pickens on the field, they believe no cornerback can cover him one-on-one. If defenses double him, it opens up opportunities for other players like Pat Freiermuth and Kelvin Austin. While the Steelers' offense isn't flashy, it doesn't need to be because their elite defense compensates. The Chiefs showed us that having a great defense can make up for a less impressive offense. In the playoffs, they allowed under 16 points per game, which helped them win despite their offense being average. The Steelers' defense can have a similar impact. Looking at Fields, he was confident in his first game. He's only going to improve from here. If the Steelers had gone with Russell Wilson, we might have seen the same struggles Wilson had at the end of his Seattle tenure, holding onto the ball too long and taking sacks. Wilson's not the player he used to be, and his struggles were evident with the Broncos and Seahawks moving on from him. The Steelers are in a good spot with Fields, who brings a level of mobility they haven't had since Ben Roethlisberger. Kenny Pickett was athletic, but didn't have Fields' level of mobility. If Fields continues to develop, and if the Steelers build their offense around him, they could make some serious noise in the AFC North. The division is wide open. the Steelers have already had success against the Ravens, and the Browns and Bengals have their own challenges. If Fields keeps improving, the Steelers could definitely make a run. Looking ahead, the Steelers have an interesting schedule. They're heading to Denver for Week 2, followed by a home game against the Chargers in Week 3. Week 4 has them facing the Colts, and then they take on the Cowboys in Week 5. Weeks 6 through 8 have matchups against the Raiders, the Jets, and the Giants. While it's only Week 1, it's worth noting that some of these upcoming opponents didn't look too impressive in their opening games. If the Steelers can get off to a strong start, they have a chance to do something big this season. With their solid defense and Justin Fields continuing to grow, they could be a formidable team to reckon with.